So hello everybody, this is LinkedIn Live. Welcome today. Thank you so much for joining. I'm Guus Hulsker from Turnkey Lender and I'm here today with Joy Schwartz from LendIt FinTech. And we're going to have a conversation about trends in lending and digital transformation. So Joy, why don't we start off with a brief introduction?
Hi, Guus. Thank you so much for welcoming me. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm President of LendIt FinTech, and we help our community by creating opportunities for networking, generating new business, and helping them stay informed through our in-person events, virtual events, and our news offerings.
Fantastic.
And Guus, I recognize that you're one of the newest members of the Turnkey Lender team. I'd love to hear more about your role.
Thank you very much. So I'm a key account manager with Turnkey Lender. I have indeed only joined the company about 4 weeks ago. I have moved to the US from London last year. My background is mainly in banking and technology, and then with a focus on digital transformation.
Digital transformation. Now that means a lot to a lot of different people. Do you mind elaborating? What does that mean to you?
Totally agree. That's my experience as well. It means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. So I'll speak for myself. My experience with digital transformation is any situation where a company transforms through technology to allow for a great customer experience. I think that customer experience part is key. And then the three main components are automation for smooth customer journey, data and AI to understand who your customer actually is, what they're all about, and then cloud, the move to the cloud to scale your business to your customer base. So that's my personal definition of digital transformation.
Now, I understand that prior to moving to the US, you were working in the UK. So you've seen a lot, in the European market and now in the US market. Are there any big differences that stand out to you?
Well, you have to bear in mind that I am a new transplant, so I'm very new here. So I'm learning, and I'm still very much keen to hear more from you about the trends that you're seeing as well. But speaking for myself, I'm thinking of two main observations that I have. I think, firstly, immediately coming into the country as a consumer, I'd say you need to get your documents in order with the government. You need to find a bank. And I've noticed that many services here are still very much paper-based. Whereas if you compare those two examples that I just mentioned to Europe, for example, and more particularly the Netherlands, where I'm from, in the Netherlands we work with something that, at least in the past, we used to call something like DigiD, a digital ID, where we would request official documentation from the government online. Financial services, the UK is pretty much the birthplace of the challenger banks, right? The fintechs that have been popping up over the last couple of years functioning as banks. These are the leading ones like Atom, Revolut, Metro Bank. So I'm seeing a large, high level of adoption of digitization. So that's the first thing I'm seeing. However, the second thing I'm noticing is the US. It's the land of the free opportunities, entrepreneurship. And in the short amount of time that I've been here, I think I've seen that reflected in the approach and the attitude towards digital transformation. Now, what I mean with that is in the UK, for example, I worked with many banks that were still very much reacting, driven by regulation, external guidelines like ISO certification, SWIFT guidelines, open banking, GDPR regulation, etc. And I've actually worked with banks that we're going into the cloud without having a full-fledged proactive cloud strategy in place. They're much more like, we have to do this. They were pushed by regulation like open banking, as I mentioned, and GDPR. Now, if you compare that to the US, in the US, it's very different. The US, open banking is not regulation, it's a business model. So I'm not saying this is unique to the US, but in the short time that I've spent here, I have seen a vast increase of companies that are not banks, not financial companies, that enable other companies that aren't banks or financial companies to finance, right? Through API platforms, gateways to financing technologies. And you see in the market strategy of a lot of the larger technology firms here in the US as well, they focus not so much on selling financing solutions and products to banks, but really focus on becoming an aggregator, an enabler so that basically anybody can finance.
I would absolutely agree with you. And, from where I sit at LendIt FinTech, I have the opportunity to engage with thousands of fintech companies, across the globe, on multiple continents. So I'm seeing this in Europe, in the United States, and in Latin America. There's more and more non-financial service companies now offering financial products to their customers. And, I guess there are two examples that particularly always come to mind when I think about this. One, I love to look at Rappi in South America. They've been, rock star growth really quickly, starting off serving their customers through food delivery and now offering financial products as well as a number of other services. Or I like to look at a company like QuickBooks in the US that started off originally just offering accounting software, and now they're offering loans. So while those are two large companies, I think that there are a lot of lessons there that can be applied and learned by small and medium-sized businesses.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now I understand that that's kind of exactly what Turnkey Lender does. Using
Right.
software to empower businesses, to offer financial services to their customers. Can you tell me more?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Well, I'm glad you brought it up because we are Turnkey Lender, right? And we provide a cloud lending platform, which means that we do work with a lot of banks, a lot of financial institutions, but I would say that the vast majority of the organizations that we work with are not that, right? So we work in construction, dentistry, even mental health. So we really work all across the board to enable companies to finance a lot of non-banks as well. Which brings me back to the trends that we've discussed earlier on. I think before this conversation, we've touched on this as well. Other companies that we service, examples are PACE financing, financing clean energy, and servicing the underserviced. So Turnkey Lender's main key is actually the powerful data and AI engine that we have and our decisioning capabilities, to which we can customize for organizations their credit scoring models and mechanisms that they put in place to allow access for those underserviced as well. So I believe you mentioned something like this before, that you're seeing that in the market as well as a strong trend, and you're seeing other trends. I think you're in a fantastic position with LendIt, having that global spread to see what's going on around the world there. So I'd love to hear from you what it is that you're seeing in those areas.
Sure. And I'm not sure if you were able to join us, but, just about a week ago, we wrapped our annual flagship event, LendIt FinTech USA, where we literally brought over 2,000 people together on the virtual format this year. In preparation for that event, our content team surveys our entire community. So we're in a really great place to really get a pulse of what's on people's minds and where they see opportunity, trending. So I'd say there are three key areas this year that have been front and center for us. The first being buy now, pay later. This area of financing has grown tremendously. And we think it's here because, again, it's all about enabling a better experience for the customer. And two, people's purchasing habits are changing. So there's been like a massive shift from the credit economy to the debit economy. Especially among millennials, their preferences have changed significantly and they're really moving away from credit cards as we know it. So, retailers need to meet them, where they want to be in order to capture that business. And we're definitely seeing that.
Exactly. I mean, I can totally echo that. And I think it's important to note as well, because we're called Turnkey Lender. However, a lot of the companies that we work with provide buy now, pay later and use our technology for actual payment plans. I'm working with one at the moment as we speak. So thanks for giving me the opportunity to explain that it's not only lending that we do, but just what you're saying right now, buy now, pay later, payment plans, etc. Yeah.
Very interesting. I didn't know that before we had this conversation.
Right.
The other trend, which is an area close to our heart at LendIt FinTech, is financial inclusion. Now,
Yes.
People within our community at LendIt, we've been covering financial inclusion for a long time now. But unfortunately, in many instances, it's really been like a marketing program. Everyone cares about financial inclusion. You say that you care, but now we're really starting to see companies not just talk the talk, but walk the walk. And now it's become a priority for financial institutions to not just talk about financial inclusion, but actually have a way to measure its success. Are the products and services that they're offering improving their customers' financial health? And we really see that as the way forward, and we're really, really excited by the innovation that's, really, starting to grow quickly, where we're seeing companies, put the customer first, develop products with the focus on improving their health as well as their experience.
I'm very excited to hear that as well, because as I mentioned earlier, this is something that we very much support as an organization as well, to getting access to those underserviced. And it's good to hear the other points that you mentioned as well there. So that's, great to hear.
And then I'd say the third point that I'd love to emphasize is the adoption of blockchain in financial services. Now, blockchain and decentralized finance, have been buzzwords, hot topics that our community has been talking about.
Absolutely.
But, we feel like the big difference this year is that, traditional financial service companies have finally really acknowledged that adoption of the blockchain is inevitable. And you're seeing this as you're seeing major financial institutions that are, deploying blockchain solutions, building up their infrastructure. And while not every use case makes sense, there are some clear winners. And we're really, really excited to see how, the blockchain continues to evolve within financial services, to create truth and to improve settlements.
That is fantastic. Yeah, blockchain is a fantastic example as well. I've worked with a lot of banks that were in trade finance, financing export and import from one place in the world to the next. And it's a fantastic example of where blockchain would make a lot of sense. But admittedly, speaking of buzzwords, there were only a few banks that I worked with that actually had implemented technology to do that. So it's very good to hear that buzzwords are becoming more and more reality in the market space, and it's something that I can obviously talk to you about much more than we're doing right now, but I'm afraid we're going to have to do that outside of this platform because it's time for us to wrap up. So having said that, I want to thank everybody that has tuned in today for doing so. That's absolutely fantastic. If you have any questions following this conversation, reach out to us. I'd say, Joy, where can they reach you best?
Well, twofold. One, feel free to contact me directly at joy@lendit.com. Also, if you're interested in digging deeper into any of these themes, visit tv.lendit.com. You'll be able to check out lots of great content digging deep into a lot of the themes and trends that we've discussed today.
Fantastic. Well, I hope a lot of people will. I'd say on my end, go to the website, turnkey-lender.com. Obviously, we have our page on LinkedIn as well, so absolutely go there if you want to learn more about our organization, what we offer, or discuss anything that we've talked about today as well. So again, thank you very much for tuning in today. It's been an absolute joy and pleasure, and I hope you have a fantastic day. Thank you very much.
Thank you.